Have you ever wondered why Lot's wife, in the biblical story, was turned into a pillar of salt? A peculiar event, isn't it? This narrative, nestled within the pages of the ancient scripture, has puzzled scholars, theologians, and curious minds alike for centuries. What could possibly lead to such an extraordinary transformation? Was it punishment, a symbol, or perhaps something else entirely? These questions form the crux of our exploration today. Join us as we delve into this intriguing biblical narrative. The story of Lot's wife originates from the Old Testament in the book of Genesis. This book is one of profound significance, forming the foundation of the biblical narrative. In it, we're introduced to a world freshly crafted by divine hands, a utopia where humanity and God walk side by side. Yet paradise is lost, and the narrative takes a turn, showing us a world riddled with moral complexities and human struggles. Genesis is an epic tale of beginnings and endings, of promises and betrayals, of divine providence and human resilience. It's a book that sets the stage for the rest of the biblical narrative, introducing us to key figures like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, who play pivotal roles in the unfolding story of the Israelites. It's a book that paints a vivid picture of humanity's relationship with the divine, and the responsibilities and consequences that come with free will. In the midst of these sweeping narratives, we find the story of Lot and his wife. It's a tale that, while small in the grand scheme of Genesis, carries weighty implications about obedience, faith, and divine justice. It's a story that, despite its brevity, has intrigued scholars, theologians, and Bible enthusiasts alike for centuries. Now let's move on to the specific story of Lot and his wife. Lot, a nephew of Abraham, lived in the wicked city of Sodom with his wife and 2 daughters. Now Sodom wasn't your run-of-the-mill city. It was infamous for its residents' indulgence in sin and wickedness. The city was so corrupt it said that even the very air breathed within its walls was tainted with immorality. Lot, however, was an exception. Despite the rampant depravity around him, he maintained his righteousness, a beacon of morality in a sea of corruption. But as the saying goes, even the purest soul can't cleanse a poisoned well. Lot's virtue couldn't stem the tide of wickedness that had swept over Sodom. Now you might wonder, why did Lot choose to live in such a place? Well, it wasn't entirely his choice. Lot found himself in Sodom due to a series of events that began with a dispute between his and Abraham's herdsmen. To avoid conflict, Abraham suggested they part ways, granting Lot the first choice of land. Drawn by the fertile plains of Jordan, Lot chose to settle near Sodom, eventually moving into the city itself. Meanwhile, God, the all-seeing, was growing increasingly distressed by Sodom's wickedness. So profound was the city's sin, it cried out to the heavens, demanding divine intervention, and divine intervention it got. God decided to destroy Sodom and its twin city, Gomorrah, erasing their sin from the face of the earth. But before the destruction commenced, God, in his mercy, decided to spare Lot and his family. He sent 2 angels disguised as men to Lot. They found him at the city gate, a place of honor and responsibility, further testament to Lot's righteousness. The angels warned Lot of the impending doom, and instructed him to flee with his family. But before the destruction commenced, Lot and his family were given a chance to escape. Their salvation, however, came with a caveat. A single, seemingly simple instruction that would prove to be far more significant than it first appeared. But that's a story for the next scene. Angels sent by God instructed Lot and his family to flee the city and not look back. There was a sense of urgency, a divine command that needed immediate obedience. The city of Sodom, once vibrant and bustling, was on the brink of destruction due to its wickedness and immorality. The family of Lot, as the only righteous inhabitants, had been chosen for a miraculous escape. Lot, his wife, and their 2 daughters hastily left the city under the cover of the night. They had been expressly warned by the angelic messengers not to look back. The command was clear and direct, a test of their faith and obedience. But as they fled, the sound of crumbling buildings and the cries of the doomed city echoed around them. It was a symphony of chaos and destruction, almost impossible to ignore. In the midst of this pandemonium, Lot's wife did the unthinkable. Overcome by curiosity or perhaps a sense of loss, she turned around. She looked back at the city they had called home, directly disobeying the divine command. In that moment of disobedience, she was transformed into a pillar of salt, an eternal monument of her defiance. Her transformation was swift and dramatic. One moment she was a living, breathing woman, the next, an inanimate pillar of salt. It was a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience to God's command. The woman who once laughed, cried, and lived among the people of Sodom was now a silent sentinel overlooking the desolate city. But why salt? Why not stone or something else? Salt, in many cultures, is a symbol of preservation and judgment. In the context of Lot's wife, her transformation into a pillar of salt could be seen as a preservation of her disobedience for all to see, as well as a judgment for her lack of faith. This dramatic event leaves us wondering, why was Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt for merely looking back? This question opens the door for deeper exploration into the nature of obedience, faith, and the consequences of our actions. The story of Lot's wife has been interpreted in many ways over the centuries. It's a tale that has been examined through various lenses, each offering a unique perspective. One of the most common interpretations is the concept of disobedience to God's commands. In the biblical narrative, the angels explicitly instructed Lot and his family not to look back as they fled Sodom and Gomorrah. However, Lot's wife, whose name is not mentioned in the Bible, defied this command and was instantly turned into a pillar of salt. Her transformation serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience and the importance of heeding divine instructions. Another interpretation focuses on Lot's wife's longing for her old life. As the fiery destruction rained down on the cities, it's believed that she looked back out of a nostalgic desire for her former life. Her transformation into a pillar of salt, in this context, symbolizes the dangers of yearning for a past that is inherently sinful and corrupt, instead of embracing the chance for a fresh start. Yet another interpretation delves into the lack of faith demonstrated by Lot's wife. By looking back, she displayed a lack of trust in God's plan for her and her family's future. Her transformation, in this perspective, serves as a metaphor for the spiritual paralysis that can occur when faith falters. Moreover, some scholars suggest that her transformation is a symbol of preservation. Salt, after all, was and still is used as a preservative. Thus, Lot's wife, in her salt pillar form, could represent a preserved memory of the past, a stark reminder of the consequences of sin. Each interpretation offers a unique perspective, but all point to the consequences of disobedience and lack of faith. Regardless of which interpretation resonates with you, the story of Lot's wife serves as a potent reminder of the importance of obedience, faith, and the willingness to let go of the past when moving towards a new beginning. The story of Lot's wife, while ancient, still holds valuable lessons for us today. It's a tale that emphasizes the importance of obedience, a trait often overlooked in our modern society. Obedience isn't about blind subservience, but rather, it is about understanding and respecting the wisdom of those who might know better or see clearer. The story also underscores the significance of faith. Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt because she looked back, despite being told not to. This act was a manifestation of her doubt, her lack of faith. It's a reminder that faith often requires us to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. Lastly, the transformation of Lot's wife alerts us to the dangers of longing for a sinful past. Her backward glance was not just a physical act but a symbolic one, representing a yearning for what was left behind, despite its wickedness. These lessons, rooted in an ancient text, continue to resonate with us today. So, we've explored the story of Lot's wife, and the reasons she was turned into a pillar of salt. We've journeyed through the vibrant landscapes of the biblical era, delving deep into the narrative of Lot and his family. We've seen their escape from the doomed city of Sodom, and the fateful decision that led to a wife becoming a monument of salt. We've pondered the interpretations, from the literal to the symbolic, and how they've given us insights into this intriguing tale. We've considered the lessons learned, the warnings about disobedience, and the importance of faith in divine guidance. This story, like many in the Bible, serves to remind us of the power of choices and consequences, the value of obedience, and the strength found in faith. As we close this chapter, let's carry these lessons with us, applying them to our own lives. Remember, the stories we explore from the Bible hold timeless truths that can guide our lives today. Until next time, continue to explore and question.